Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, I do like the look of that right there, a little Doug Rice with a twidwear. Yeah, twidwear.com, man. I got it on. Look at that. I'm matching. All right, folks, how are we? How are we doing? Are we doing okay? Are we doing okay? How you doing? Doing good. My name is Doug Rice. This is the Doug Rice Show. Welcome to the Doug Rice Show. Thank you so much for showing up. I do appreciate that and such. All right, good morning. It is 8:01 in the morning on the 17th of November, 2023. Thank you for tuning in to the Doug Rice Show. Thanks so much. Brought to you by Twid. That's what I did. Twid. All right. It's a brand. Brand is applicable to nearly any circumstance you might think of because, well, that's what I do. Well, yes, folks, Twidwear, this show brought to you by Twidwear. Let me give him a little bit more credit right there, just so you know. He is the sponsor of the show. So, just so you know, and please give him a little bit of your attention because, you know, I look pretty good in that stuff, don't I? I might mention. I look pretty good. I like that. Huh? You like the way this flips around and does all the different stuff it does? I'm experimenting with how the show goes and whatnot and such and thus. Good morning, 8:02 in the morning. If I'm walking you into work, if I'm accompanying you into the presence of those who are not Negroes, if I am escorting you into the fray, let me just say it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, folks. I'm here. I'm here with you. And my job is to maintain that you maintain a serious countenance. In other words, my job is to make sure that you get that goddamn grin off your faces before you traverse into public places. See, it just doesn't belong there. Not today. Not today, and I believe on Friday, I'm going to keep it that way. Now, I'm pretty sure some of you have probably challenged me to get that grin off your face. Some of you are skinning and grinning and cheesing and greasing and massa pleasing, all that. You can't wait to get to it every damn day. But today, Negroes, today I got something for you. Yes, I do. I got something that we've been working on as a collective for, I'd say, a number of weeks. Katrina, right? Yeah. We've been looking for this particular information. I got to tell you, this they keep strictly hidden from the Negro nation. We're going to get into it right now. That's right, folks. So here we go. Let me show you what I got for the show. It is, I would say, something Negroes need to know, and not just because I said so. All right, let me whack that up a little bit. Let me boom, get that like that and there. All right, so this is an essay, an expose, a narrative in a kind of way to something that's described as the Devil's Punchbowl, an American concentration camp. Now, I've read just a little bit, skimmed through it. I created this particular PDF, so I'm quite proud of that. And it, as well as other PDFs, are available to you through and by donation to support this program. See, I hate saying that. To support this show towards the Negro nation. The reason I shy away from certain things that you might hear me say is because programming is what we've been going through nearly every damn day. This is a deprogramming platform. That's what we do here. I want Negroes walking about this countryside mind clear. And today, I got something for you to hear. All right, so here's what we're talking about. I hate when it does that, but here's what we're talking about. I'm trying to give it a little bit of magnification, a little clarification. All right, Devil's Punchbowl, an American concentration camp. This story is an interesting story because it is not a story. It is fiction. Now, let me explain. It is not fiction, but there is a book called The Devil's Punchbowl that is fiction based on reality. And that, after long, hard investigation, is the conclusion that I have come to. Now, if I am in error, please, someone out there, feel free to correct me. I don't mind correction when I invite it. Otherwise, well, all right. So here we have this essay, and it's written by the gentleman who, and I didn't like the name, was kind of weird. But you guys know the name. Detrina makes sure to get the name of the author from every publication I read. So it is in there. It escapes me at this moment, but you'll see it at the bottom of the page. The Devil's Punchbowl, an American concentration camp. And the title is so long I can't read it in my headline. All right. Like, subscribe, share this effort. Give to our giving URLs. Where are they? Right down there. We take Cash App, we take Patreon, we take Venmo, we take it all. We are doing this full time. You will see me today, more likely starting at noon. I'll be on for a number of hours throughout the day. We'll be covering news and all of these different things, but to send you on your way, the Devil's Punchbowl, an American concentration camp. Now, ladies and germs, I don't know the significance of the peach. I know that, strange fruit, those things, but there is a significance to this, and I wish to find out what it is. So if you care to talk amongst yourselves, please do so. My name's Doug Rice. Welcome, and let's get on with the show. The Devil's Punchbowl, an American concentration camp. It will take form. Here we go. Again, it's written in the narrative, folks, so it's as if I'm saying it, but it is Mr. Murray's words, and I believe that is his last name. Hopefully somebody get that for me. All right, here we go. It's time I took a vacation. I thought to myself, I've been spending endless days working, reading the election results, discussing issues of racial inequality in America with friends and strangers alike. I need to consider getting away and thinking about how beautiful life is and enjoying the measure of freedom I've been granted by our Creator. My best idea was to get out and enjoy nature while pushing myself physically as well. All right, can I do this? While searching for beautiful scenic trails and state parks throughout the country, I was struck by how many American destinations bore the name Devil's Punchbowl. As I searched them out, 3 in particular grabbed my attention. The first was the Devil's Punchbowl Natural Area and Nature Center in Valermo, California. It boasted of over 1,300 acres of geological wonder, where visitors can walk, hike, or take horseback ride on 7.5 miles round trip through a deep canyon formed by the vast runoff of water from the higher San Gabriel Mountains. I was captivated by the very sound of it. The second was the Devil's Punchbowl State Natural Area near Newport, Oregon. The description was intriguing, stating that during winter storms, water from the restless oceans slams with a thundering roar into a hollow rock formation shaped like a huge punch bowl. The surf churns, foams, and swirls as it mixes a violent blue. There's a scenic spot atop the undulating rocky shoreline. As awesome as this all sounded, I continued my search, wondering if I could find one of these awesome destinations closer to my home in Tennessee. After finding 5 or 6 other parks bearing the same name throughout the country, I eventually located one in Natchez, Mississippi, of all places. I recall thinking, although there won't be crashing oceans, waves, and winter storms, I'm certain to find beautiful trees, gorgeous hills, and amazing scenery and wildlife. Let's see. Well, there's a photo of something. I imagine that this would be a vacation to a beautiful place to hike and roam. pray and challenge myself. A place where I could gather my thoughts, create, think about building for the upcoming year. A place where I could enjoy nature and plan for a good time with my children in the near future. What I didn't realize was that not too many years ago, in the very place that I was now considering for a vacation, newly freed blacks were leaving plantations en masse with a very similar mindset. Now, I want to brace you, Negroes. I need you to firm and steel your minds. Your very psyche will be challenged, and its ability to comprehend what I'm about to convey to you is a simple onset of wanting to vacation and relax turns into an informational nightmare. Here is where the story turns. They dreamed of building lives free from the master's whip and the hounds of the slave patrol. Building homes and farming land they'd earned and owned. They dreamt of building businesses and amassing wealth for generations to come. They dreamt of walking the streets with dignity and self-respect, of joining the military, having voting rights, of holding political offices. They dreamt of holding these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I remember imagining I'm going to vacation near the places where my ancestors were liberated and made their way to freedom. How cool is that? Now I was really excited. I continued to research Devil's Punchbowl in Natchez, Mississippi. And the description was as follows. It looks like a jungle from up above. Down below the first bluff east of the Mississippi, a quarter mile, maybe a half mile past the Natchez City Cemetery. You are 200 feet up and your footing falls almost straight down into a two-pronged indentation into the bluffs. This was in no way sounding as inviting as the places I've been reading about elsewhere. Still, with the pandemic in full effect, I made more sense to vacation within driving distance. So I continue to gather information about this regional destination. What I read next would forever change me. All right, folks, please, before I begin, do me a favor, like, subscribe, but more importantly, do me a favor, share this particular live. This, again, will be jarring to your senses, but as we begin, it commences. American concentration camp. So horrific, it was erased from history. I asked myself, could America have played a role in the formation of Nazi concentration camps? And if so, to what end? I pondered this question and others as I read further. I dug a little deeper and found the real story behind the place. Devil's Punchbowl is so named for a cavernous bowl-shaped gulch walled off by tree-topped cliffs, and in an area unintentionally made perfect for a hellacious prison by nature herself. Okay, friends, here's the real story. Here we go. Following the Civil War, freed blacks began a long journey northward to begin their lives of freedom. Unfortunately, they weren't given any time to prepare, nor were they provided anything except for the clothes on their backs. No provisions were made for them to travel, lodge, overnight, or to eat. Nevertheless, these freed people made their way out on foot. The threats of the elements didn't deter them from what they knew was going to be the land of milk and honey. Stopping along their journey to rest and find nourishment, many traveled through Natchez, Mississippi. Paula Westbrook who has done extensive study on the Devil's Punchbowl, writes that according to Adams County Sheriff's reports from the time, the population in the Chazz went from 10,000 to 120,000 overnight. The residents of the city, feeling resentful that the people who were once their property were now free, called upon the Union troops who were still lingering after the war to devise a merciless, impotent solution. Well, now, the plot thickens. I need you to understand the ramifications of that phrase and stating that the population in Natchez went from 10,000 to 120,000 overnight. Now, the preface that they've laid in beginning to tell this story is quite interesting. The residents feeling resentful, and resentment is never meant to be felt and sent. Representful that the people who were once their property, Negroes, were now free, and they did something very interesting. They called upon Union troops who were still lingering after the war to devise a merciless, impotent solution. Like, subscribe, and prepare yourselves. It's going to get gruesome. Well, what have we here? An interesting photo. According to Don Estes, a historian and former director of the Natchez City Cemetery, the troops decided to build an encampment for the freed slaves at Devil's Punchbowl, which they walled off. Blacks were forced inside by the armed troops and not allowed out. During his studies, Estes says he learned that Union troops ordered recaptured black men to perform hard labor. Women and children were all but left to die in the 3 Punchbowl. You still grinning out there? The Union Army did not allow them to remove the bodies from the camp. They just gave them shovels and said, bury them where they drop. Now, I don't know how you might feel. And that says Paula Westbrook. Those trapped in the labor camp were denied food and water, thus many died of starvation. In these concentration camps, disease broke out among them, smallpox being one, and thousands died. They were begging to get out, begging to go back to the plantation, Estes said. The men were kept in a separate camp and were marched up the bluffs every day to perform hard labor and then taken back to the camp at night. The women and children were kept in 3 separate camps and never got out. According to one account, blacks were packed in like cattle. So, welcome to the Doug Rice Show, brought to you by Twid. You know, I am someone that says it, and that's what I do. But I just need to know, how does that affect you? I mean, you're going into work, right? I mean, every day. Some of you go in, some of you interact with the descendants of these creatures. You have nothing but cordiality and complimentary get along, all in your giddy up. But I wonder what would happen if you showed up one day without a goddamn smile. I'm going to try to give you every reason to do that today if I can. Just stick around a while. Let's continue. In 1860, the population of Chazz was 6,612, which consisted of 4,272 whites, 2,132 slaves, 208 free blacks. And by 1870, the population of Chazz was 9,057, which consisted of 3,728 whites and 5,329 blacks. If 110,000 blacks poured into Natchez around 1865, where did they all go by 1870? Well, I wonder. Who knows? More than 20,000 died there. Even today, occasional flooding by the Mississippi River exposes skeletal remains from the grass or mass graves that adorn the former encampment, and large, lush peaches grow from the peach groves in Devil's Punchbowl, but no one eats them, as they know what they are fertilized with. Let me ask you something. Do you like it here? This where you want to be, Negroes? I'm just asking. This was written in 2020. And he writes, I know why the peaches are the photo that encapsulates this horror. Why have you never heard about this? They talk about Jews going into, ovens. Why haven't Negroes been informed about this occurrence that still proves itself every day with a gentle rain? And the peaches, I can't imagine. Let's continue. Please like, subscribe, and share. And please, if you like what you're hearing, look down there. Let me get to this. All right, here we go. I recently had a discussion with a friend about the underrepresentation of blacks in films, television commercials, etc. Her response was that since blacks only make up 12% of the population in America, from a marketing standpoint, it's wiser for advertisers and filmmakers to cater to white consumers. Well. It is well documented that black consumers spend more than $1 trillion a year, according to Nielsen, which outpaces every other ethnic group in the country. Did you hear that, Negroes? I'm going to read it again because you need to hear that. It's well documented that black consumers, now I need you, they use that word black, so they didn't say black and brown, they didn't say people of color, they didn't say Latinos and Latinx, they didn't say minorities. What they said was black. That means they meant Negroes. Negroes spend more than $1 trillion a year. And you wonder why we can't get out of here. They got us programmed to give the money right back to them. My God. And it outpaces every other ethnic group in the country. Just to make it clear, they're talking about Negroes, in case you're wondering. My question becomes, with such a small percentage in the national population, how is it then that blacks are so overrepresented in prisons, on death row, in welfare lines, and in low-income housing in America? In light of the disturbing discovery of this American concentration camp, I decided to forego my vacation travel plans this year. Thinking about Devil's Punchbowl left me struggling with the answers to my questions about why blacks have been the targets of such hatred throughout the history of this country. It provided an explanation of why blacks have so often been the strange fruit hanging from America's trees, why they overpopulate our prisons, and why it takes so long for this country to pass legislation in favor of black progress, yet so little time to reverse that progress through what Dr. King called white backlash. It explains why black contributions are so largely hidden, or credit for those contributions is displaced. Let me tell you about white backlash. Backlash, shall we? Yeah, blacklash. That's actually better. White backlash. That's what it is. The resentment that these individuals will get, if we get anything yet, will more than likely mean a lot of our deaths. I mean that. They're mad right now, and we ain't getting nothing. I mean, we haven't collected a check, at least not yet. And as they contemplated, we're under threat. White backlash, that's what it is. Then next, getting a crook. You know, whatever we get some shook. I mean, it's like right from their back pockets we took. That's white backlash. And it's interesting, it explains why black contributions are largely hidden, or credit for those contributions is displaced. So even in supporting, can you imagine what the rest of their community might look at others who support a black initiative? I can imagine the skewer. Imagine looks, the side eye they might get, you know. So they've got to, in that respect, they have to minimize or hide the contributions. Largely hidden, a credit for them is displaced. They keep it out of their white face. Let's get back to it. Wow. A painful, yet a very important truth is that blacks were never intended to be citizens of this country. Whoa! I'm sorry. Did you miss something, folks? I'm sorry. Did you drop something? You okay? Y'all on your way to work? Huh? Is that where you going right now? I know you are, but let me read it again. A painful yet very important truth is that blacks, Negroes, you and I, were never intended to be citizens of this country. Never intended to own land, to become political leaders, to contribute in meaningful ways to this experiment gone bad called America. It was never in the grand design that Negroes would ever be considered humans, citizens, or free. Boy, you listen to me, you better hear that. Do you hear that? Let me run that back. It was never, ever, listen, and I do mean never, ever, never, in their grand design, because that's whose design it is, that Negroes would ever be considered humans, citizens, or free. They were brought here for the purpose of serving and enriching white enslavers, to be the property of those who could afford to own them, to be used as collateral and mortgaged when necessary to succor other enslaved Negroes. This is why the Confederate States fought so hard to maintain the institution of slavery. Even after the institution was abolished, in the weeks and months following the Civil War, the opposing Union troops recaptured and brought tens of thousands of American families to their demise. Because once freed, there was nothing left to do but to exterminate them. What's on your mind? How you Negroes doing this morning? You getting ready to go to work? Go on in. Go on in. Please. Commiserate, cajole, joke, laugh, grin and cheese. But if you don't mind, I might be so kind of, just for a moment, consider this. This is a story they wanted us to miss. They didn't want us to see this. They didn't want us to read this. If you have this on your mind today, then that smile should simply fade away. What do you say? Next. When we look at the lucrative ancestry industry, where millions of Americans discover their family's lineage dating back to its origins, it is important to note the absence of generations of Black American families who were taken in the most brutal and inhumane ways. Many died in the Devil's Punchbowl concentration camps, and countless others in other atrocities. Each represent children that were never born, books never written, inventions that will never exist, cures for diseases that may never be discovered, paintings that will never be appreciated, symphonies that will never be composed. And there they are. There are some of those. You look deeply into the eyes of these individuals. This is written by Chazz Williams. I'm going to let that hang in your mental for a little while. Look at it! Don't look away. You need this to go about your day. Yes, you do. All right, folks, that is the show. That is the reading. That is the mental nourishment Negroes are needing. That kind of information. Right at the Negro Nation. I appreciate your time. I don't want to be on that long. I got other things to do. You know, I'm keep going on strong. But we are brought to you by Twidware. Oh, we are brought to you by Twidware. And Twid, thank you so much for sponsoring the show. Thank you so much. Just so you know, especially if you're in here, you guys have seen the show. You know what we do. Now that the show's over, and well, I'm through. But I appreciate you being here. I thank you for being here. Like, subscribe, share. Let me put that down there for you. And also let me show you a little bit of Twidware on my way out of here. Hey, you're going in today. I know you are. And you want to just be a star at work, don't you? And I know sometimes you got to grin and cheese to please, but today it's Friday. Negro, please. If you got to go out there today, and I know you do, you got to be on your way, and I know it's true. But if you're going to go out in public places, do me a favor this day. Get that goddamn grin off your faces. All right, folks, have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. What? I'm just doing my job, that's all.